Good day to all of you research students. This is Jasper Angeles, your virtual teacher for inquiries, investigations, and immersion. This subject envisions to give you an avenue to apply and practice the theories and concepts you have learned in practical researches 1 and 2. For us to do that, we have to concretize our understanding of the essential components of the research paper. We begin, of course, with the first important elements of research, the title and the statement of the problem. In order to write the title and the statement of the problem, or SOP, we have to first think of the topic we wish to explore. The topic, as you can see on the screen, refers to the subject or subject matter of a proposed research study. When thinking of the research topic, we need to think big. To aid us in developing the topic for research, we may use the following guide questions. First, what topic or topics for research interest me or interests me? What is it about the topic that I chose that is interesting to me? And third and last, what do I know about the topic that interests me? It is important to first think of your interest when thinking of a research topic. Are you interested in entertainment, psychology, computers? You choose which is interesting for you. Next, think about the reason why is that topic interesting for you. What makes it interesting? Or which component makes it interesting? Let us say that you are thinking of law as your topic. To narrow it down, you think of what about law that makes it interesting. Say, for you, what's interesting is Constitution. Now, note that Constitution is still a broad topic. So you think of another topic within Constitution that makes law interesting. So here we have Bill of Rights, for example. Again, Bill of Rights is still a broad topic. So you narrow it down to which component is interesting. That is why at the bottom of the chain we have civil rights. Say, for example, that of all the list of rights in the Bill of Rights, you chose civil rights or civic rights. This is, however, a research topic only and not the title nor the SOP yet. We will go there in a little while. Right now, what is important is that you know where you want to go. If you listen intently, you'll notice that we value the narrowing down of the research topic. Aside from looking at what's inside of each component of an interesting topic until we find something that is specific, we likewise use the limitations. Limitations and the limitations class are different. Limitations are natural barriers that the researcher has no control. The limitations, on the other hand, are choices made by the researcher to make a strong conclusion and to minimize the influence of other things or variables aside from the things observed by the researcher. The first component of the topic that you can delimit is the people or categories of people involved in the study. To do this, we answer the question, who are the people that I want to study? Say, for example, you're interested in identifying how much do people know about their civil rights. If the research topic is to be delimited, then you need to be specific with the kind of people you will ask as respondents for the proposed study. Here on the screen, you'd be able to see examples of specific categories of people. You can say, for example, that you want to include only senior high school students or maybe college students because they're the only ones taking or currently taking courses pertaining to Constitution. The important thing here is the specific group or category of people who would be involved in the study. Another thing to delimit is the place of study. To identify which people will be involved in the study is as important as knowing the geographical location where the study will be implemented. You can say, for example, that the college or senior high school students who would be part of the study would come from the population of a particular school. Remember that the scope of the proposed study is important in identifying how much time and resources must be allotted to finish the study. The wider the scope, the longer the study will take, not to mention the big amount of resources that the research will cover. In your case, as a senior high school student, it would be wise to limit the place within the school premises. So far, we have said that there is a need to delimit the topic to the category of people involved and the place where the people would come from. Aside from the previous two considerations for the limitations, it is also important that the researcher knows the scope of time that the research will cover. This is evident in the research titles that include the school year or any time period when the study took place. In addition to the time period that the researcher would cover, it is also important for the researcher to devise a timeline that will guide him or her in the conduct of the research. Here we say for senior high school students a period of 2 weeks of data collection and 1 week for interpretation would be feasible for the semester. Of course, if the intention is for the senior high school students to graduate. Place, people, and time are only three of the most important details to delimit in a research topic. The last one is the sphere of human interest. Let us go back to the topic of civil rights. It is not enough to consider only this topic. The people who would be involved, the place involved in the time of or the amount of time to be covered in order to finish the study. We need to also identify which human activity or interest about civil rights are we interested in exploring. Is it the knowledge of the respondents about civil rights, their perceptions, perhaps, or opinions about civil rights, how they apply the civil rights, or maybe the number of times they exercise their civil rights, and many more? These are only examples of the spheres of human interest. Again, in delimiting the topic, there is a need to consider what interest or activity of humans about the topic we choose are we eager to know about. Considering these points of delimitation will really help us in making a specific but working statement of the problem and title. Alright, to just recap what we have talked about so far, can you answer this question? Which four areas of the research topic must be delimited? You have 10 seconds to write your answer on the comment box. Go. Alright, so the correct answer would be people, place, time, and sphere of human interest. Alright, I think we can proceed with some practical guidelines for developing a research topic. Let's have the first one. First is to check resources that are related to your topic in the library or reliable sources in the internet. Make sure that you can get as many articles about your topic as possible. Remember that the soul of the research paper is the review of related literature and studies. Here you will get your ideas on how to build a conceptual framework and the ways to interpret and defend the findings of your study. It is therefore important that you have several resources for the topic you want to explore. Second, do not make your topic too specific. It is true that narrowing down the topic is important in any research. However, making it too specific would hamper the things you can discover about the topic. Let's say, for example, you moved with the topic civil rights and you decided to focus only on one of those civil rights. Will this move allow you to explore more about civil rights as much as when you include all the civil rights that respondents may or may not know? It is important to know how much of specific should you apply to the topic you want to explore. Third and fourth guidelines are quite relative. The reason why you cannot find sources for the topic is because you do not know anything about the topic you would like to explore. Always choose that topic which you are interested in and that can work with you. Fifth, choose a topic that is not vague, intangible, or debatable, or is not easily answerable. Do not ask whether or not God exists. Do not research about things that are not observable. Remember that research gets its life from tangible or observable data. We can only conclude on something we see. Imagine if your research aims to prove that God exists, who would you interview? How much of those people's testimony would be considered valid in terms of research? Sixth, choose a topic that is not yet overly written on by other researchers in the field. To put this in simple terms, do not choose an over researched topic, like perceptions of senior high school students about their strands, or if K 12 program is effective. Class, it's been almost a decade since the implementation of such programs. There are several studies already about these things. So it would be wise to choose a topic which you think has not yet occurred in anyone's mind. Of course, you need to consider the resources for that topic and look at the 7 and 8 guidelines. Always consider the budget you have. Now, let's take a look at some practical guidelines for developing a working title. First, the title should encapsulate the main idea of the research. The title alone should give the readers what the research will be all about. In the succeeding parts, you will know how to do this. Take note that the research title should give its readers two hints. The first hint should be about the variables involved in the study, while the second one should be about the method used to explore those variables. These two comprise what we mean by the main idea of the research title. Second, the title should be in the form of a concise statement that explains the essence of the topic. The title, therefore, must not include words that do not contribute to the presentation of the main idea we talked about a while ago. The length of the title should depend not on how good you are in writing the title or how figurative you are, but on the number of variables and method used to explore such. Just like what I have said earlier, the title should identify the variables to be explored in the research or study. I think that these last two guidelines have been explained in the discussion of the first two guidelines. Alright, so what else? Do not develop a very long title because it may mislead the readers. Again, the length of the title should not be or should be based on the variable and the method involved in the research or study. Do not begin with the title phrases or with the title with phrases like a study of or an experimental study of. It is quite redundant to say that the research or the title of the research is a study of such and such. Remember that this is already a study, so there is no need to tell the readers that what they're going to read would be a research. Do not be redundant in terms of presenting the title of your own research. Do not use abbreviations in the title. Always spell out the words and the acronyms used. And lastly, limit the title to as many as 10 to 12 words. These number of words must guide the number of words used to present the variables and the method used in the research or study. These number of words do not necessarily include the many words involved with the name of a place or a name or the name of the variables. We have to acknowledge the fact that there are some variables or names of places that comprise a lot of words. So we cannot consider that those number of words would likewise be under the 10 to 12 word limit here as stated in our guideline. Now, let's try to evaluate some research topics here, shall we? Let us begin with this perceptions of school administrators on bullying within a public high school for school year 2018 2019. Your criteria in deciding whether or not the topic is specific will be, of course, the delimitations that you have here in our slide. On the comment section, write S if the topic is specific and B if not. In addition to the letter, include the reason why you think it is specific or broad. Again, write S if the topic that you can see here on the screen is specific, and B if not. And attach also a short reason or a short explanation why did you answer such. You have 10 seconds. Go. All right. Thank you for your answers. I believe that those who commented B are correct. Which word in the topic must be replaced? All right. It's the public high school or the place the study will be implemented. You can replace this with the name of the specific school where the study will be implemented. I think that the topic is delimited in terms of people to be studied, which are the school administrators, in terms of the time period as stated in the school year involved, and in terms of the sphere of human interest, which in this case is the perception of school administrators. So the only thing that needs to be changed must be the public high school word. How about this one? Reading preferences of grade 7 students in Matubig High School for school year 2018-2019. You have 10 seconds to write S or B based on the criteria that you can see on the screen. Write a short explanation as to why is that your answer. Timer starts now. All right. I guess you are all right when you answered S. Correct. This topic is specific because we have here the people involved, which are the grade 7 students, the place involved, which is Matubig High School, the time period, which is 2018-2019, and the sphere of human interest, which pertains to the reading preferences of the grade 7 students. Am I right? Okay, how about this one last topic for evaluation? Okay, e-business through social media. All right, is it specific or broad? Include a short explanation of your answer, class. You have 10 seconds. Go. All right. So I think you would agree with me when I say that this topic is broad. First, there was no mentioning about the people involved in the study. There is no time period involved, and obviously no place where the study will take place or has taken place, though we can hint that this will take place in social media. As for the topic, yes, it's there, a business, but we're not told of what sphere of human interest will be involved. Will this involve perceptions about e-business, knowledge about e-business strategies of businessmen in e-business? Are there lots of things that we can add here in order to delimit it? All right. So remember, class, that the topic would not count if you do not include the sphere of human interest you want to explore about the topic. All right. Okay. So right now, let's proceed with the fundamental points in writing the research title. Just like what I've said a while ago, the research title must always make the variables explicit or seen. Let us look at this title. Factors affecting the academic motivation of grade 11 students in P. Guerrero High School for school year 2018-2019. Reading the title, you would see already that the research will only revolve around two variables, which are factors affecting the academic motivation and academic motivation. For you to understand what we mean by variables, let us read the definition of variables. Class of variable is a concept, a noun that stands for variation within a class of objects. Anything in this world that has categories in terms of quantity or quality can be considered a variable. Which things in this world may be considered or may be different from one person to another? Do all people have the same height? Of course, the answer is no. So, can we consider height as a variable? Yes. Why? Because this characteristic is not similar to all people. Let us have a short exercise. We will read this situation and you need to write on the comment box which are the variables involved. All right, so I'm going to read this example, and what you need to do is to write the variables involved in this example. Okay, let me read this for you. Suppose a researcher is interested in studying the effects of reinforcement on student achievement. The researcher systematically divides a large group of students, all of whom are ninth graders, into three smaller subgroups. She then trains the teachers of these subgroups to reinforce their students in different ways. One teacher gives verbal praise, the second gives monetary rewards, the third gives extra points for various tasks the students perform. What are your answers? There are two variables involved in this situation. Which are those? Your answers, or you are correct if your answers are okay, reinforcement and student achievement. Why reinforcement? It is because in this example, the researcher tried three kinds of reinforcement, if you can still remember from the example. We have verbal praise, monetary rewards, and extra points. Is student achievement a variable? Yes. Will one student's achievement or grade be different from the grade of others? Definitely yes. In short, we can consider both things as variables in this example. How about the other underlined word, which in this case refers to ninth graders? What what can we term or what term can we use for this word, for this underlined word? What do we call an aspect of the research that do not change for every respondent in the research? Class, we can call this one a constant. Constants are characteristics of the respondents that are the same for everyone. Now, there are two kinds of variables. We have quantitative and categorical variables. Remember when we said that a variable is anything that represents different measurements and or categories? Alright, when a certain characteristic or thing is different for each and every one in terms of measurement, then we call this variable quantitative variable. The differences between and among people exist along a continuum or numerical range. Height, for example, height is an example of a quantitative variable. Since my height is different from your height in terms of measurement, height is considered a quantitative variable. Anything that is different from one person to another based on measurement or numerical range is considered quantitative variable. How about categorical variable? If quantitative variables class consists of characteristics or things that differ from one person to another, categorical variables consist also of such, but these characteristics or things differ in terms of category. For example, do we all have the same religion? No. So can we agree that religion is a variable? Yes, because we have different religions. But is this difference based on measurement or numerical range? No, of course. The differences with regards to this religion are based on the categories of religions. We have Christian, Roman Catholic, Islam, and others. They are different categories or kinds of the categorical variable, which in this case is religion. Given our discussion on variables, I think we can answer this question easily and correctly. Can teaching method be considered a variable? Suppose a researcher is interested in studying teachers who use different methods in teaching. The researcher locates one teacher who lectures exclusively, another who watches or lectures with slides, films, and computer images, and a third who uses the case study method and lectures not at all. Given this situation, again, the question is, can teaching method be considered a variable? To answer this, we should be able to answer another question. And that is, does the teaching method or does teaching method vary? Since there were several methods presented in the example a while ago, I think we will all answer yes. If this is a yes, then teaching method is a variable. Now, is teaching method a quantitative or categorical variable? Write your answer on the comment box. Correct. Teaching method is categorical since this may emerge into different methods that are different based on category or kind, not based on numerical figures. Using the discussion of variables, we must have gotten already a clear picture as to what variables are, right? Now, as you can see, we have labeled factors affecting the academic motivation as categorical variable. Why? This is because there are several factors and that these factors are different from one another on the basis of kind of factor. How about academic motivation? Why did we label it as quantitative variable? This is because the level of a person's motivation may be measured by scales. You can ask the respondents the question, on the scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the highest, how motivated are you? Since motivation of individuals differ from one person to another, motivation is considered a variable. But since these differences are discerned through numbers or scales, we will consider academic motivation as a quantitative variable. Again, class, what do we call things or characteristics that are the same for all the respondents? Comment it on the comment box. Correct. They are constants. Commonly, grade levels, settings, or the place of study and time period are considered constants, for they do not differ for each and every respondent. Aside from the explicit statement of variables, the title should also reveal the research method to be used. The words used in the title usually suggest the method that the research will employ or has employed in the study. In this example, we can see that the words factors affecting suggest that the study will be about the study, if not analysis of factors. Since this is about analysis of factors or the discernment of the effect of the independent variables and not the manipulation of the independent variables to have an effect on dependent variables, this study can be labeled as a causal comparative study. Remember that uh, that the difference between experimental method and causal comparative method is this. Experimental method involves the manipulation of the independent variable to affect the dependent variable, while causal comparative method works in an ex post facto or after the fact setting, wherein the independent variable had already taken effect. The duty of the researcher here in this research method is to find out what these effects are. With all that explanation, the point here is that the wordings in the research title suggest the method that will be used or had been used by the researcher. Here are some sample titles for each research method. For descriptive survey research, we have categories of bullying and Facebook messages of selected grade 9 students, perceptions of grade 10 students towards senior high school programs, and the attitude of pre-service teachers toward the public school system. Categorization of perceptions and attitudes are most of the time accomplished by researchers employing the descriptive survey method. You may use these titles as format for your own research title or research paper in the future. Here we have sample titles for correlational research method. Performance rate as a correlate of San Juan de la Cruz savings and credit cooperatives investment rate. The relationship between variable A and variable B. In correlational research method class, it is important to include the words correlate or relationship to suggest to the readers that the research will employ correlational statistics to establish relationship between two variables. For causal comparative research, we have the following sample titles. In doing this kind of research class, you may either explore the effect on the dependent variables or the effect of the independent variables. Okay, it boils down to the choice of point of view in terms of using causal comparative research method. There's also experimental research method. Usually the title begins with the use of or the effect of. All right. So note that these are not prescriptions as to the kind of title you can write. You may use external sources as basis for the titles you will use for the subject. Now, let's take another break in the form of a workshop. Your task here is to develop your own title based on the variables and the method. You have 20 seconds to write your answer on the comment box. All right, so I'm giving you here some elements, and in addition to that would be the method that the research would use or maybe had already used. Okay, so your task here is to create the title based on what you have learned a while ago. All right, so you have 20 seconds. Write your proposed or yes, the proposed title or title that you're thinking about right now based on the elements that you can see and also based on the research method that you can see. All right, 20 seconds, go. All right, so what is your answer? If your answer is the attitude of selected Christians toward homosexuality, then you are correct. Again, there is a variety of ways to write the title. You can also write the title in this way. Categories of attitudes of selected Christians toward homosexuality. I hope that you have used the prototype titles a while ago to answer properly and correctly. All right, let's have another title to write. You have the variable, level of social media addiction, the time period, and the people involved. You need to write the title in a way that such will suggest a descriptive survey research method. How are you going to write the title? Come on, you have 20 seconds to comment your answer. Go. All right, let's see if we have the same answer. The level of social media addiction among the students of Pamantasan ng Maynila, school year 2018-2019. All right, so don't fret about not getting the correct answer. Let's have another title to write. All right, so we have the following variables: job satisfaction rate and performance level. You have the time period and the people involved in addition to the research method, which should be correlational research. How will you write the title based on the elements? I wonder. Write your answer on the comment box. 20 seconds. Go. All right, time's up. Let's see if we have the same answer here. All right, so let me show you the answer. The relationship between job satisfaction rate and performance level of employees of Ajinomoto Philippines for 2018-2019. All right, so did we have the same answers? Okay. All right, so based on the prototypes a while ago, you can also write the title in this way. Job satisfaction rate as a correlate of the performance level of employees of Ajinomoto Philippines for 2018-2019. Alright, I hope that this short activity made you a step higher in what you know about the writing of the research title. Now that you know how to write about it or how to write it, let us proceed with the writing of the statement of the problem. Before we begin, note that you cannot write the statement of the problem or SOP without the research title, which is based on the research topic. Remember, class, the progression: topic first, then title, then the statement of the problem or SOP. Remember this. Now, the statement of the problem or SOP comprises two parts. We have the preliminary statement and the series of research questions intended to be answered after the conduct of the study. Let us look at the title again and the corresponding preliminary statement. Our title a while ago was Factors Affecting the Academic Motivation of Grade 11 Students in P. Guerrero High School for School Year 2018-2019. Here's the preliminary statement. Aimed at determining which among the lack of parental guidance, teacher efficacy, and socioeconomic status is are possible factor or factors for the academic motivation of grade 11 students, the researcher would like to sought answers to the following questions. Note that since this is a causal comparative study, the researcher has already stated, probably based on the RLS, the possible factors affecting academic motivation in the preliminary statement. These factors are lack of parental guidance, teacher efficacy, and socioeconomic status. Just like our sample titles a while ago, this is just a prototype of the preliminary statement you can write for the SOP. Though you may use other forms of writing the preliminary statement, you may also use this one as a guide. You just need to change the variables and the other details here with the ones you will use in your own research. Remember this class, after the preliminary statement, you can proceed with the specific research questions. In writing the research questions, or what we call as the RQs, it is important to sequence the questions according to the variables stated in the research title. Remember, consistency. Which variable is the first one stated on the research title? Look again at the research title, class. Factors affecting the academic motivation of grade 11 students in P. Guerrero High School for school year 2018-2019. So which variable is the one stated on the research title? Comment your answer on the comment box. Correct. The first variable is factors affecting academic motivation. It is for this reason that the research question number 1 asks about the three factors you have likewise seen in the preliminary statement. Now, which variable follows factors affecting academic motivation? Can you please comment your answers? Which variable follows factors affecting academic motivation? Come on, participate in this discussion. Correct. It is academic motivation. It is for this reason that the second question is asking about the academic motivation of the respondent. So see, the questions follow the sequence of the variables that we have written in our title. So the key here is always the consistency of the researcher. Now, here you will see that the research questions, or that research questions 3 to 6, okay, are required in order to fulfill the concept of causal comparative study in the research title. These research questions are devoted to identifying whether or not the factors really were factors to academic motivation of the students involved. Let us have another example. Here we have a research title that clearly involves correlational research method. Again, we begin with the preliminary statement. Now, in writing your own preliminary statement, just change the words relationship, electrical awareness, and scores with terms coming from your very own research. Let us look at the specific questions, okay, of this title. What is the focus of research question number one? Again, my question is, what is the focus of research question number one? Comment your answer. Correct. It asks for the level of electrical awareness of the respondents. Note that, again, this variable is the first one mentioned in the research title. How about research question number two? What is the one asked by this question? What is the one asked by research question number two? Correct. Scores of the respondents in electrical assessment, which is also the second variable stated in the title. Now, like the previous example, the third question here fulfills the concept of correlational research method by asking whether or not there is a significant relationship between the two variables stated in the title. All right, let us have this workshop on writing the SOP. I shall be giving here the research title. Now, your task is to write the specific research questions for the given title. Are you ready? Again, I would be giving here the title, and your task is to write the 3 research questions for the given title. Alright, so comment your answers on the comment box. Remember, however, that the title must not only reflect the variables, but also the method that the researcher would employ. Now, aside from the title, you are given the method to be used by the researcher. Or so you have here the title, and in addition to that is the method that the researcher would use. All right, so your task again is to write 3 questions based on the title that was provided. Now let's look at this title. Reading preferences of selected grade 9 and 10 students in my son National High School for school year 2018-2019. The method that will be used is survey and causal comparative research. Now, how will you write the research questions? Remember that this is a descriptive survey, so you must ask for the respondents' profile like age and gender. Now, since this is also a causal comparative study, there is a need to include a question that asks for the significant difference on reading preferences based on the given profile. I will give you 30 seconds to write the 3 questions you would possibly write for this title. All right, so timer starts now. All right, okay, so time's up. What are your answers? Let's see the possible set of research questions, shall we? Okay, so for this title, we have what is the frequency of, or no, sorry about that. What is the profile of the respondents based on age, gender, types of media read, and reading frequency? All right, so if you have answered here, what is the profile of the respondents based on age and gender? I think that would be fine given the example I've given a while ago. Second, what are the preferred reading materials of the respondents? Now, you might be asking me, sir, a while ago you said that the first research question must be based on the first variable stated in the title. All right, so in every rule, there is always an exception class. And one of the exceptions is the use or the title with the method descriptive survey. Remember that if you use descriptive survey method, the first question must first be about the demographic profile of the respondents. All right, that's why we have the first question as something that pertains to the profile of the respondents. It is only on the second question that we focus on the preferred reading materials of the respondents. And lastly, since this is a causal comparative research method, we need to incorporate the principles of causal comparative research in the writing of the questions. So we have the third and last question, which is there a significant difference between the male and female respondents in terms of their preferred reading materials? Again, since this is a descriptive survey research, the first question must be about the profile of the respondents. The second question would be about the topic, which is the reading preferences. And lastly, to suggest the causal comparative nature of the research, there is a need to add a research question, obviously the third one, that asks for the significant difference in the reading preferences based on gender. Okay, so if you did not pull off or you're not able to pull off the previous research title, okay, for the SOP, I think that you can do better in this next title. All right, so let's have another title to use as basis for the research questions that we will write. Here we have the relationship of study hours and the mathematics periodical test scores of selected students in Maricopa High School for school year 2018-2019. Method, correlational. Remember that your research questions should be based on the succession of variables. I will give you 30 seconds to write 3 questions based on the given title and method. Again, you have 30 seconds. Write your answers in the comment box. Go. All right, time's up. Let's see the possible questions. Okay, so here are the possible research questions that we can write for our title here. The first one could be, what is the average study hours, or what are the study hours of the respondents for mathematics? All right, why is that the first question? Because the first variable talks about study hours, right? Second question, what is the average mathematics periodical test score of the respondents? And last, is there a significant relationship between study hours and mathematics periodical test scores? Again, why do we have study hours as the first one asked? It is because the first variable in the title is about study hours. Why is the second question about mathematics periodical test scores? Again, it is because the second variable is about mathematics test scores. Now, note that the third question was the way it is because study is a correlational one. If you were not able to pull this off, then let's have this one last title where you can use or which you can use as basis for the creation of your own statement of the problem. Okay, so we have the title, Attitude of Grade 11 Hume Students Toward Core and Specialized Subjects. Art method, descriptive survey. Again, since this is a survey, there is a need to ask for the demographic profile of the respondents first. You have 30 seconds to write your questions, 3 questions for this title. Go. Okay, so time's up. Let us see the possible list of research questions. As number 1, what is the profile of the respondents based on age, gender, and socioeconomic status? What is the attitude of grade 11 students toward the core subjects for Hume's? And lastly, what is the attitude of grade 11 students toward the specialized subjects for use? Here we begin asking about the demographic profile first, followed by the attitude of the respondents toward the first one, which pertains to the core subjects, then by their attitude to specialized subjects. Okay, so now I hope that this learning session in research topic, research title, and statement of the problem cleared confusions about the writing of these important aspects of the research paper. Always remember that everything in research is connected, from the topic to the title, the research questions, up to the last parts, which are the conclusions and recommendations. I suggest that you always maintain consistency not only in relationships, but also in the writing of your own research papers. This has been your virtual teacher, Sir Jasper Angeles, bidding you a partial goodbye. See you next time.